Yes, thank you, Mr Deputy President. I rise to take note of answers to questions by Senator Abetz representing the Prime Minister in relation to the Prime Minister's claim that households will be $550 better off because of an end to carbon pricing. Now, Mr Deputy President, we have had so many lies told around Australia about the impact of carbon pricing. We had the Minister for Agriculture, Barnaby Joyce, telling people that a lamb roast would be $100 more. We had the Prime Minister telling the people of Whyalla that they would be wiped off the face of the earth. We've had the Prime Minister telling people that building a new home will cost $6,000 less if the carbon price goes. And of course, when I asked Senator Abetz today about where this $550 figure came from, it comes from the Treasury modelling. And the Treasury modelling included $250 for food, for clothing and for rent. None of those things, Mr Deputy President, none of them are captured by the government's pass-through provisions. That is, there will be no requirement for anyone selling food, anyone selling clothing, anyone renting a property to talk about the impact of carbon pricing or otherwise. And if anyone is deluded enough to think that food prices are suddenly going to go down or rentals going to go down or that clothes are going to get cheaper, then they need to really look at this situation, because it's just not true. The reality here is people are not going to save money. In fact, they are going to be a lot worse off. And I want to put it to the Senate that this particularly goes to the issue of the value of their homes and the value of insurance. Already, Choice magazine has brought out a report this year, Buyers Beware, Home Insurance, Extreme Weather and Climate Change, and points out a number of high-risk locations around Australia where insurance is already unavailable or unaffordable. And I can tell you that in places like Roma, for example, it's practically impossible to be able to afford insurance. Around Australia, anywhere that's subject to storm surge, extreme weather events, to fires, more extreme fires, people are struggling to be able to get home insurance, and that means that there is a revaluation of their assets happening right now based on climate risk. So, to be able to stand up and say to people, oh, you're going to be better off, when you've got Woolworths saying, oh no, actually conveniently we didn't actually price any increase on food in our prices in our supermarkets, therefore there will be no cheaper prices because we didn't put it through in the first place, and Qantas out there saying, oh yes, we put on a fuel excise but now we've taken it off, we're not passing it on to passengers because actually we absorbed it ourselves. And part of the reason that Qantas and Virgin have been in this downward spiral of pricing is that they both absorbed any costs themselves, and so it's not going to be passed through to passengers. They're going to pay exactly the same as they're paying now, if not more, as time goes on. So all of this talk about cost savings is just a complete nonsense, Mr Deputy President, and it's just outrageous in Australia that people have been told so many lies. And one business I referred to in particular, Frozpack in Canberra, the Prime Minister went there with the now Minister for the Environment, Mr Hunt. He was in opposition at the time, and they stood there and said this business will incur $60,000 increase in costs because of carbon pricing in 1 year, and a large percentage of that was because of synthetic greenhouse gases, apparently. Now, however, we find that that business is unlikely to incur any penalty. It's one of the areas that won't have the penalties. It's only suppliers of electricity and gas that will be subject to the penalties, it would seem, in the Palmer amendments, not that particular business. But I'm sure everybody will look at all of the businesses that Mr Abbott went to and said that they incurred increases in prices like $60,000, and it will be interesting to see how that business explains to its customers why it can't pass on anything like $60,000. These absolutely exaggerated and ridiculous claims were made by the Prime Minister, and the $550 is going to turn out to be another lie. It will be another broken promise, and I can tell you around Australia people will be sending an invoice to the Prime Minister's office saying, "Where is my $550, Mr. Prime Minister?"